Hi, it's Mrs. Davis here at home. We are going to be working again on partitioning, fractioning, dividing two-dimensional shapes. We're going to be starting today with a whole, and we're going to be dividing that whole into equal parts. So we'll be fractioning it, partitioning it, dividing it. Now today, we're going to go one step further. So we have been working on partitioning our two-dimensional shapes in half. Today, we're going to be working on dividing our two-dimensional shapes into 4 equal parts. Now here's some words that we're going to be using to talk about those parts. When we divide our two-dimensional shapes in 4 equal parts, we're going to call that fourths. Another way that you can talk about 4 equal parts is quarters. So we could use 4 quarters or fourths to talk about taking a whole shape and partitioning it into 4 equal parts. Now, if we take one of those 4 parts, we're going to call it a fourth of, or a quarter of. All right, so there's the words that we're going to be thinking about today when we're thinking about fractioning, partitioning, dividing two-dimensional shapes into 4 equal parts, or fourths. So let me get my handy-dandy helper tray here. So the last time that we worked on partitioning shapes, we had a whole shape, a whole circle, and we took one straight line and we partitioned a shape, this circle, into 2 equal parts. So we had 2 halves of a whole. We also thought about a rectangle. We had a whole rectangle and we took a straight line, 1, and we partitioned a whole rectangle into 2 equal parts, or in half. And remember, we were talking about if you take 1 half of that shape away, this is what it would be. Now, I'm going to add some more pieces so that you can see what it will look like if we take a whole shape, divide it in half, and then take another straight line and divide our halves in half. And that will give us 4 equal parts. Let me get my little helper pieces down here. I'm just going to build a whole circle down at the bottom. And I'm going to leave a little bit of space in between those sections so that you can see where we partitioned to get our 4 equal parts. So we use our vertical straight line, and then we come in the center and we add another straight line. Now we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. And if I pull one section away, I've pulled one of the 4 parts away. And I can do that with my rectangle also. So let me grab my helper pieces down here. So there's our whole rectangle. And then we divided it in half. And I really like the way these pieces lay out because it really shows us that we are actually sectioning or partitioning half of the half to get those 4 equal parts, or those fourths, or those quarters. Whole rectangle, divided in half, divided into 4 equal parts, or fourths. Now, this can come in really handy. For instance, if you ordered a pizza and you were home alone, you could eat the whole pizza all by yourself. But what if your best friend comes over and you want to share your pizza? So now you can divide or partition that whole pizza in half so that you and your friend can get an equal slice of pizza. But what if you've got your friend and you and your brother and your sister and everybody wants a piece? Now you know how to divide it equally, and if everybody doesn't get the same size piece, it's gonna be a situation. So straight line, straight line. Now you get 1/4. Your best friend gets a 1/4. Your brother gets a 1/4, and your sister, and everyone's happy. Hey, learning how to partition shapes in half and into 4ths is really a helpful life skill. Now, here's what we're going to do together. We're going to be using our circle shape that we used the other day. So I want you to go around the house and see if you can find your circle and see if you can find a rectangle shape. These are the shapes that we're going to be partitioning into 4ths today together. All right, I'll be here when you get back. You know I will. All right, now I've already got my spiral ready to go. I already drew my circles, and of course, you know the name of the game. We're going to be writing whole into the first circle, because we always start with a whole shape. And then I'm going to take a vertical line down, going to partition in half. So I have my halves here. Okay, and I'm going to label that. Okay, halves. And then, of course, you know, my circle's a little bit big, so I had to put my other 2 on the back. Now I'm going to add an extra line, and I'm going to partition in half, and then I'm going to go straight in the center. I didn't get my first line in the center, so I'm going to fix that right quick. That's the great thing about using a pencil and erase. I went straight down and then straight across with a horizontal line. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. They're equal in size. So now I'm going to label this 4ths. Okay. Okay, and I bet you can figure out what we're going to do on the last one. Yeah, that's right. We're going to shade 1/4. So again, I'm going to fraction, partition, divide into 4 equal parts with 2 lines. And then I'm using a colored pencil, but again, you can just turn your pencil sideways. And I am going to shade in 1/4. 1/4 of that circle. We've got 4 parts, so 1 part is going to be shaded in blue. And there we go. Now I'm going to use my numbers to represent this portion that's shaded. I'm not going to write 2 down here. I'm going to write 4. Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. And then I'm going to use the line to separate the number of parts from the number that is shaded, which is 1. 1 of those 4 is shaded, or 1/4. 1 of 4. All right, we're going to do the same thing with the rectangle. And let's see here. I think I've already got mine ready to go. And my rectangle is small enough that I got all 4 on one sheet. Okay. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to label the first one whole. And then I'm going to use 1 vertical straight line to partition equally. Now I have halves. And I'm going to label, and let me put that word up here. so that if you're labeling and you're using that, you've got the correct spelling. And then I'm going to add one more straight line in the center horizontally. Now I have 4 parts or fourths, but this time let's use the word quarters because that means the same thing. Let's change up our vocab, but we're actually saying the same thing. Quarters. Okay, so I have quarters. I have 4 of them. And my final activity is to shade one of those quarters. Oh boy, I've got to work on my tracing skills. Do you have to do that sometimes? Do you have to erase? I know you don't like to. All right, now I'm going to take my colored pencil again, and I am going to shade one section, 1/4 of the rectangle. I have 4 equal parts. I'm shading 1/4. And I can say it like this. A quarter of, or a fourth of, the rectangle is shaded. Now I'm going to use my numbers to represent a portion of this rectangle that is shaded. So I've got my 4. I'm going to have to write kind of small because I don't have a lot of space down there. The 4 at the bottom represents the 4 parts, and then 1 on top of that line, because 1 of those parts is shaded. So 1/4 of this rectangle is shaded. All right, and remember that does come in handy if you have to share equally with others. Now you know how to divide, to partition, to fraction things equally to be able to pass out portions to others. That comes in handy. It really does. Now here's what I want you to do on your own. This will be your independent activity. I want you to go around the house. I want you to locate a square. Remember that a square has equal sides, 4 equals. So find a true square, and I want you to do the same activity that we did together. I want you to do it on your own this time. Trace 4 squares. The first one is going to say whole, and then you're going to divide using one line in half, and you can write halves. And then the third one is going to have 2 straight lines. So there'll be 4 equal parts, and you can either write fourths or quarters, either one, because it means the same thing. And then on that 4th and final one, you're going to shade 1 part of it, or 1/4, and label it with your 4 on top, 1/4. So you can use your numbers. All right, now you've got to get busy. You've got some work to do. So go hunt a square and work on your own for a little while, partitioning a square into 4 equal parts. All right, until next time, get busy and have a good one.